Hi everyone, thanks so much for listening to another episode of Dogman Encounters Radio. I'm Vic Cundiff and I'll be your host for the show. Before we bring on tonight's guest, if you've had a Dogman encounter and would like to speak with me about it, whether in private or on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. I'd love to hear from you. If you've had a Sasquatch sighting and would like to be a guest on Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio, please go to bigfooteyewitness.com and submit a report. All right, let's bring on tonight's guest. Tonight's guest wishes to remain anonymous. Because of that, not only am I going to refer to her by an alternate name, I've also digitally altered her voice. Megan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Vic. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks so much for coming on and telling us about that experience, even though I know it's not easy for you to talk about. Please give us a brief bio on yourself.
Well, let's see. I am newly and happily retired, and I am from New Orleans, Louisiana. And I guess that's about all I want to say about it.
It must be nice to be retired.
Yes, it is, Vic.
Yeah, I'll bet. When we spoke for the first time, I was almost convinced you weren't going to be able to talk with me about your encounter due to how upset you were about it. What made you decide to come on the show and tell the listeners about what happened to you that night?
Oh, geez. I guess because I did a good job of repressing this experience, and now that I'm retired, my life has slowed down somewhat. And now the memory of it is coming up, and I seem to be getting triggered a lot about it. And I think it may be a good thing for me to talk about it. And it was a good thing for me to talk to you about it. And I feel that it's a ball and chain and that I'm dragging around. So I just kind of want to talk about it and give it away, so I can enjoy my retired life, because I have been dealing with this since 2005, and I have never spoken about it to anyone.
Well, I can understand why you didn't speak to anyone about it. How long was it from the time when you had your encounter to when you found out what you had seen that night were called Dogmen?
Well, you know what, Vic? I was in denial about it, because I had tried to suppress it so much because it was so scary for me. I actually did not want to admit that I saw a Dogman, because this is a cryptid. These people are crazy. I went home, and every once in a while I would just kind of Google. I didn't even know what a Dogman was. Every once in a while I would just kind of Google a big dog that stands up on two legs. And of course, I came to your website. So I'm kind of thinking, all these people are crazy. There's no such thing. There's really no such thing as Bigfoot. These cryptids don't exist. I can't tell people that I saw this big, gigantic dog on two legs. And, I think I would say maybe about 2 years ago, I actually admitted I came across the reasoning on the internet that if 1% of these stories are true about Dogman, then Dogman exists. So it just was a very long process for me that I was in denial. So I was just thinking, this is just some big German shepherd that stands on two legs. This is some big German shepherd that just fell and put his fingernail underneath my car handle and was trying to get in the door. This is just some big, gigantic dog that just has man shoulders. This is some big, gigantic dog that has hands. So, it was a very long process for me, because cryptids don't exist in my world, because I'm a city girl. I don't know about these things. Never knew what a Dogman was. So it just took me a long time to to deal with it.
Well, yeah, as the people listening are going to hear, it's not an easy experience to deal with. And of course, that was just a coping mechanism for you to try and explain it away. Well, you can fool other people, but as you know, you can't fool yourself. You had your encounter while a well-known event was taking place. Please expand on that for us.
Well, actually, it's kind of centered around Katrina. At the time, I lived in a place called Araby, Louisiana, which is a suburb not very far away from New Orleans. And it happened on the night of August 29, 2005, the night of Katrina, and I was evacuating to St. Louis, Missouri, on the road, and it wasn't a really good thing because I'm going to start at the beginning. When I woke up on August 28th, which was a Sunday, I turned on the television, and all I could see is, I don't even see the Gulf of Mexico. I see Katrina. I see a big cloud of Katrina on top of it. There's an evacuation order. Everybody has to either evacuate or they have to get to the Superdome. But you have to get out of Dodge now. So I get everything together, and my boyfriend at the time was a policeman. So he comes out, he's got his uniform on, he ran, he got dressed, we wake up, he has to go into work, he hands me a gun, and he tells me, and I've never shot a gun in my life, he hands me a gun and he says, you're going to be on the road, people will kill you for what you have in your car. So I take the gun, he gives me a little box of some antique watches that he has, and he says, take this with you. And he hugs me, he says, I love you, and he says, everything's going to be okay. You need to leave. So everything's in a panic. The whole city is evacuating. I mean, I'm going to tell you, it must be at least 100,000 people are evacuating. And if you ask me, they did the evacuation order maybe 15 hours before this huge hurricane was coming for New Orleans, and they should have done it maybe a couple of days before. But I waited for the actual evacuation order because I'm thinking, by some small, slim chance that this thing is going to take a turn. Well, it doesn't take a turn. It's coming for New Orleans. I've got to get out of Dodge. Get everything together. And I have a little cat. And I kind of noticed that my little cat is very lethargic. She's not eating. And I'm starting to realize that she's kind of very sick. I can't take her to the vet, and it's just bumming me out so much. So I've got all this going on. I have elderly parents that are going to follow me up to where I was evacuating to, because all the hotels, there was no hotels within maybe a 3-state, everything, no hotels to stay in. So luckily, my niece decides to put us up, and she lives in St. Louis. So I grab my very sick little cat, meet my parents, and we evacuate. We get on the road. My parents are stopping too much, and my mom says, just go ahead, and you need to take care of your cat. And I can't even tell you the experience of evacuating. Every time we came to an underpass, there were people that had sheets and cheering us on, and they would make these signs on sheets and say, we love New Orleans, and we're praying for you guys, and kind of cheering us on like everything's going to be okay. And it was just such a nice thing. But when I got further up north, of course, all that stopped. And, it was a very long drive. I was listening on the radio to these two crazy guys that had decided to stay at a radio station, and I forgot what building they were downtown. And it was the eeriest feeling when all of a sudden they're transmitting. They said, yeah, we're going to run out the storm and we're going to tell you everything that's going to happen. And just being on this dark road, and the transmission goes off. And it's like, what's going on in New Orleans? So as I'm evacuating, the hurricane's just hitting New Orleans. And my mind is with my boyfriend. And he stayed at the LSU School of Dentistry. And so I'm thinking that maybe he's going to be okay. So as the story turns out, he ended up having to shoot a window out to get out the building. He had to get in these flood waters, which he got some kind of weird skin disease from it. He went on to save lives, but he also was able to steal some rope out of a store, and he tied more dead bodies that were floating in the water to trees than anything. And he kind of turned out to be a hero, and he really lost everything. At least I was able to grab a lot of my photos, and I was able to grab, a lot of my valuables and some sentimental things. But it was like he was a non-person. He didn't have anything, not a birth certificate, nothing. So I know you guys probably hear really bad things about the New Orleans police, but there were some good ones, and he was actually one of the good ones. But anyway, I'm on the road, and finally get close to my destination. And my destination is St. Louis, Missouri. I kind of backtracked a little bit because I have a sister that is in Alton, Illinois. So I'm kind of in distress, and I really want to see my sister. I want to be with family. So I kind of took a little detour. I kind of got lost. I couldn't really find 64. So I really can't say what road I was on. But I do know that I was right outside of St. Louis, Missouri. So I'm going to have to tell you what kind of car I had at this time. It was a 2002 Toyota Echo in 2005. So I kind of considered it new. Well, when I was driving on this kind of like this curvy road, which had maybe a big hill on the other side, an embankment on the other side, I came to a part of the road where there were these long, skinny orange cones. I came a little bit too close to it, and I hit my side view mirror, and it just completely snapped it off. So I kind of consider my car a little bit new. I get out, I look at that it's a clean break, and I figured that what I'm going to do is I'm going to go see if I can find that mirror. So I leave the car running. My cat is really kind of failing, so I'm kind of concerned. I have to kind of make this quick. So I park on the side of the road by this kind of hilly area. I could hear it go pink, pink, pink. So I'm kind of close. I'm leaning down. I'm looking around. I'm looking for this mirror. And maybe I'm looking around too long for about 5 minutes. And I have my back turned. And I kind of maybe hear a little clicking noise. I'm not really paying too much attention to that. And I turn around. I'm behind the car, okay? I turn around and I see maybe some kind of little mask sticking up on side of my car. right on the back of it by the hilly area, which would have been to the right of the car. So I can kind of make out that it's some kind of animal. And what is this animal? And it's looking in my car. It's by my car. It's by my cat. And I'm going to have to stop right there and say that I'm a crazy animal lover. So it was like I turned into Mama Bear. So I figured that what I would do, I start charging this thing, whatever I think it is. I don't even know what it is. I just start screaming, get away, and I'm charging. I'm kind of charging at it. So I'm walking really fast. I'm walking so fast. I'm charging it. I come around the side of the car. I see something very long crouching down, looking at the back window. And mind you, I have this little bitty tiny car. I can't see its face is facing away from me. And I come up and very swiftly it turns around. It's still leaning, okay? I see the biggest German Shepherd head I have ever seen in my whole entire life. And all I know is that I have a gun that's in my trunk, and there are absolutely no cars on the road. And I'm about maybe 5 feet away from the biggest German Shepherd head I've ever seen. And it's just leaning. And the top of its chin is maybe, I'm eye to eye with it too. And the top of its chin, okay, I'm 5'1". The top of its chin is maybe a foot off my head. So I don't know what to think. I'm thinking, what the is this? It proceeds to, I'm close enough to, it's showing me its teeth, and I'm close enough to see that it has teeth on top of teeth, like it has double row of teeth. I stopped dead at this thing. Oh, man. When I realized this thing's eyes are just this, like little electric neon blue, icy blue eyes. He's standing there looking at me. I don't know what this is. The lower half of his body is black. The lower half of his body is much smaller than the upper half of its body. It looks like, how is it defying gravity? I can't get to my gun, and now it's showing its teeth at me. So I'm backing up slowly. We're still having a stare off. We're still looking at each other in the eye. I'm backing up, and I'm backing up slowly. And all I want to do is run, but I can't. But I'm trying to put a little distance between us. I don't know if, I just have no idea. So maybe I'll put 12 feet between us. And I'm thinking, don't even think about eating my cat, but I'm so scared. So, oh man. So, then it decides to stand up. So, I immediately just fell to my knees, and I was in a position where I'm sitting on the back of, I fell to my knees and I'm sitting on the back of my calves, okay? And because, I'm 100% dead at this point. there's just no way I'm gonna get out of this. I've never seen a dog this big. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's staring at me the way it is, and it's breathing very heavy. Just go away, get away. I need to get in that car and I need to leave. Oh, man. So, it has very kind of it has kind of, it really, the teeth, all I can kind of say is that they're not didn't look like needle sharp. They looked pointy on the end, and it looked like, something that's good for tearing meat off the bone. And that was scaring me a lot. The fact that he just was staring at me. Oh, man. So I'm on my knees like a rag doll. I don't want to look at this thing anymore. So I decide I'm just going to look down, and I have no game plan, because I'm thinking if this thing just even nips me, it's going to take off that part of my body that it nips. It's just too big. And I think I'm looking at maybe 7 feet. I'm looking at a lot of bulk. He's got arms like a person. He's got hands like a person. His palms are up, but they're in like a kind of like relaxed position, and I can distinctly see that they are hands. So I'm thinking, what the hell has hands? What is all this about? I'm not going to get out of this. I am 100% dead. And this thing could easily take the top of my little 2002 Toyota Echo, rip the top of it like a little sardine can, and eat my cat like a little hors d'oeuvre first. It's bulky. Its head is as big as its chest. Oh, man. I look up again. I'm looking down. I don't want to see this thing. I look up again. Same position. Electric eyes looking at me, focused in on me. Okay. I look up a few more times, and I'd say maybe 2 minutes go by. Take a quick glance up. He's still there. He hasn't moved. Then I start hearing, I guess I would say footfalls, and I don't want to see him. I'm hearing something walking around. I'm hearing a pounding, like pound, 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 pound on the pavement. And I don't want to look up, because I know it's either it's walking around, it's coming towards me, because I don't want to see it hit me and before it either tears my head off. I don't want to see it. Just do it. I don't want to see it. But despite myself, I look up. Then I see him in the same position. But now I see Dogman number 2, who obviously was the one walking around. And he's in front of the car, which is at the front of the car. I left my car on. It has lights. I can only see the top portion of it. And it looks maybe a little bit taller than the other one, but he's very similar, or it's very similar to this other it. So at this point, I just kind of feel, hysteria taking over me, because now I'm 200% dead. Now I'm double dead. And are there any more of these things around here? Sit back down on my calves. To look down. I don't want to look. I could hear heavy walking around. Glance up again. Dogman number 2, he's really not looking at me. It kind of looks like he's just taking a look at the situation. He's on the other side of the car. Look down. He's walking around. He's walking up to me. He's walking close to me. I don't hear him walking around anymore. I look up. Oh man. He's about maybe 6 feet away from me. And he's standing on his side and he's looking into the field. And I'm really concerned about him looking in the field, because I'm thinking, hell, there's more of them coming. But he doesn't seem like he's concerned with me at all. Dogman number 1 is same position, his same exact position, just staring me down. I hear pounding. I don't know if both of them are walking around or one of them's walking around. Look up again. Dogman number 2 is still on the back. He goes back to the back of the car. Dogman number 1 still in the same position. He's just kind of looking around. He's moving his neck. He's looking around. He's just looking around, not looking at me. Thank God. Pounding. Comes back to the same position again, maybe 5-6 feet in front of me. I look up. Dogman number 1 and Dogman number 2. They're both kind of met each other. Now they're maybe, maybe they're about 5 feet away from me. 6 feet away from me. And it's 2 of them. And I'm just, at this point, I think I'm feeling complete hysteria. And I can kind of feel me kind of shutting down. I don't want to have nothing to do with these things. I just want to go home to New Orleans. I don't want this at all. It just, please go away. If you ever go into shock, this is the point where I'm completely I can't deal with these things being as close to me. I'm just waiting just to get eaten at this point. So then I hear something I don't want to hear. I hear a huge, pounding noise on the pavement. I completely tense up, because I'm expecting to open my eyes and see jaws coming at my head. I immediately look up and I see one of the dogmen apparently either jumped, walked, ran really fast. I see a small glimpse of a tail. I see that it hits the embankment and it starts to run into an angle to the right. And I'm going to get back to how these things run. It's so immediately, I can't even tell you how fast they run. It looked like maybe if you take a piece of fuzz, as I didn't even see it gallop. There's no such thing as a gallop. It just hit the ground, immediately turned into a blurry type of fuzz going into this field on an angle to my right. Now I don't know what the heck this thing is. Now all I could see is that Dogman number, whatever number this one was, because I don't know what the heck number, what that one was. Okay, if that can work, if that one can go as fast as it is, I'm really not going to see what's going to hit me. So I'm just pretty hysterical at this point. And I look down. I don't want to look at these things anymore. I don't want to have nothing to do with them. Oh, man. And I would say I would give it maybe 20, 30 seconds go by. And I'm done. I'm done with this whole thing. I'll look up. As fast as I looked up, this thing just kind of hits the pavement very, very swiftly. I could see it just in a kind of very strained, jerking motion, maybe go on to all fours, completely clear the highway, which was amazing to me, and hit the embankment and start running in the same exact direction on the angle to its right. I spring to my feet. I look around. I don't see any more animals. I don't see any more dogs. I run to the car. I get in the car. I lock the doors. I turn it off. I have stuff in the back seat, on the floor, everywhere. There's my little cat. I'm getting under this stuff in the back seat. I'm pretty freaking hysterical, crazy. Grab my little cat, and I'm trying to hide myself in the back seat because I don't really know if there are more out there. And I don't want to go in the same direction right now as they ran, which is the direction that I had to go. Oh, man. And I'm hysterical, and I'm trying to calm myself down. And I've got all this stuff just haphazardly just thrown all over the place on top of me, and I'm probably sticking up all over the place. But I'm thinking I'm hiding. And I'm trying to calm myself down. I'm just trying to calm myself down. And it's maybe 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'll wait a little while. But I can't wait too long because I realize that my little cat is urinating on herself and she's very sick, and I need to get in that front seat, and I need to drive this car, and I need to get me out of here, and I need to get to my destination. And let me tell you, the whole time there was not a car on the road. So when I could tell that day was breaking, I had a sense of relief. So finally, I get the heck in the front seat, get to St. Louis. I kind of get lost. I can't find where she lives, where my niece lives. St. Louis has this horrible Monday morning work traffic, and I'm so frustrated. She's telling me how to get there. I can't even think. I just want to pull on the side of the road and freak out. She's telling me how to get there. Finally, I get there. The sun is shining. I'm so relieved. I get to my knees. She scoops my cat up. Then obviously, I guess she could see I'm distressed, but I'm guessing she thinks I'm probably distressed because of Katrina. Then she gives me a little white pill in my hand and she says, "Take this, you need to sleep. Just go to sleep." Well, she had the television on at the time and she had the news on and they were covering what was going on in New Orleans. So seriously, I kid you not, the last thing I hear before whatever it is I took that knocked me out, I hear the levees are broken in New Orleans, all New Orleans is flooding. And that is the last thing I heard before I passed out. And I guess I was kind of grateful, in some kind of weird way that I had so much to deal with that I never really kind of had time to process what happened because of the traumatic nature of this. I mean, even though these things didn't do anything to me, I've never encountered anything like this. I didn't know what a Dogman was. I was kind of grateful. I had to go back to New Orleans and gut the house, and it took years for us to recover. And did I have a job? And dealing with FEMA was crazy. So I didn't really have time to process it. And I didn't have time to think of it. And if it ever came, if it did come up, I did a good job of suppressing it. Because you can't tell people this. You can't tell people you saw a big dog man that was maybe 7 or 8 feet tall and it came out of nowhere and just kind of stole your sense of security away from you, and you just can't tell people. So pretty much that was the fallout. And then every once in a while, it's still in my head that I still would like to know what this was. And that's when I heard a lot of stories, a lot of Dogman encounters, and I would hear little detail. And that would trigger me. It would really trigger me. I would have to just walk away from it, sit on the bed, stare at the wall, and just have a little freak out over it. Why did it choose to let me live? Are these things in my city? This was so close to a city. Do they come into this city? Do they live alongside us? Should I be worried that more out there? And maybe that's why I'm telling my story, because, I want to give it away. I don't want to live in fear. I want to have recall. Like, once you see it, you cannot unsee these things, is the whole thing. And you don't have a delete button in your brain. You have that image forever. So every time that image comes up, you have to deal with it. And it starts to become a burden, and you have to file it. You have to keep filing it. You have to keep closing the door on it. So it becomes a good thing to let it out. And it has helped me very much to finally talk about it, because this will be the second time in my life that I've told this story since 2005.
You deserve a lot of credit for coming on the show and sharing that experience like this.
Thank you, Vic.
Oh, you're welcome. It's true. Takes a lot of guts to do what you're doing. After you described it as being so tall that its eyes were about a foot over your head, you said it stood up. What did you mean by that?
It stood up straight. And that I couldn't understand because I couldn't figure out how is it balancing itself. It didn't stand up straight. And if it stood up straight, I would maybe put a whole nother foot on it. Just kind of maybe in a resting position, kind of more relaxed on its legs. It was leaning over and just kind of rolled itself up. And seriously, I would put it at maybe 7 feet tall. I don't know if it could stand up straight and bend its legs, but the shoulders were kind of slumped down.
I see. That makes sense. Did you leave your windows up or down when you got out of the car?
I had them up, thank God.
Yeah, I agree. Thank goodness. Yeah, if you would have left them down, there's a good chance that Danny would have been snatched up and hauled out of the window.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that would have been horrible. Could you hear Danny responding to the dogman looking in on her?
No. Very sick little cat. I don't think she even knew it.
Oh, good. Were there any lights in the area where you had that experience?
See, that's a good question. I don't remember any lights. I would have to say that it was a moderate lighting. So I don't know if I don't remember what the lighting was. I don't know if it was a moon that night. I don't remember if I was actually by a street light. It wasn't bright light. I would give it moderate lighting, but not bright light. But do I remember, exactly street light? No. But I would put it at moderate lighting, and I honestly don't remember where it's coming from.
Oh, that's okay. Considering what you had going on there that night, yeah, no one could fault you for not knowing if there was a street light there or not. How far was the location of that encounter from St. Louis?
Vic, that's another good question. I could tell you that I could see the glow of the city. Let me think. Maybe 15 miles. Pretty close. I could actually see the glow of the city and feeling relief. I would say 15 miles, 15 to 20 miles, because it maybe took me 20 minutes to get into St. Louis. Actually hit St. Louis.
Yeah, you were pretty close then. You said it bared its teeth at you when you approached it. Did it ever make any sounds when you did that?
Other than breathing, it didn't growl at me, thank God, because I don't have that memory. It didn't growl at me. That's the funny thing. Neither did the other one. There was no growling, just heavy breathing. Just showed its teeth. It was showing its teeth. I didn't hear any growls. I just heard labored breathing. Very heavy breathing.
You said you didn't hear them make any sounds besides their labored breathing, but did you notice any smells coming from them?
Oh, yes. To this day, I can't smell. If I smell anything like a wet dog, it just brings me back. I would say definitely kind of mixed with just really musty wet dog. And I can only smell it as I got close to it.
You said you fell to your knees when it stood up to its full height. How long did you stay down there like that?
For the duration of the encounter. And the duration, I didn't stand up at all. I was in freak out mode. I would say this whole thing may have been 15 minutes. And that's given the 5 minutes of me looking for the light. It wasn't a long encounter. It really, I don't consider it long. I stayed on my knees the whole time. And I was not about to move. I just didn't, I'm very fearful.
Well, understandably so. Yeah, staying on your knees like that might have been the best thing you could have done.
I put my arms out a couple of times and kind of rested my arms, but I was not standing. When I moved away from it, and when it stood up, that was it. Hit the ground, just like a rag doll. I couldn't deal with it. And I'm so happy to have this opportunity to get it out of me.
Well, I'm so happy to offer a platform for you to do that. You said Dogman 2 stared off into the field, almost as if it was looking in the direction of other dogmen that might have been around. Did you ever hear anything that led you to believe other dogmen besides those two were around?
No, but it's the fact that the second one, he would kind of, I had short glimpses of him, but from what I could tell, he looked like he was just kind of surveying the situation, but he would jerk his head over to look into the field, look into the left side of the road, into the field. And that kind of concerned me because I was wondering, is he looking, what is he looking at? What is this thing looking at? There's got to be more out there. So that kind of confused me and scared the hell out of me, too, at the same time. But no, I didn't hear anything else, just these two guys, which was a lot.
Oh, I'd say it was. Thank goodness 2 more didn't show up, or even another dogman. Just 1 more showing up would have been bad enough. Now that you've had that encounter, is everything else you're ever going to experience in life going to be a breeze for you to deal with?
I actually feel like the weight of the world is lifted off of me. I carried it around for so long, and it's becoming more and more of a job to have to file it in that door that won't stay closed in that little place in my brain that I can't delete. And now I feel better because I just can give it away, and I can talk about it on a forum to people who hopefully aren't going to think I'm crazy, and to other people that have seen these things as I have and been terrorized by them, or experiencing the same kind of thing that I'm experiencing, that it's very traumatic seeing something as terrifying as this. Yeah, I think it's going to make life easier for me, Vic. For sure.
I hope it does. If you had to point out the most terrifying physical feature of the dogman you saw that night, what would that be?
Oh. Dick, I'm going to have to put this with the arms and shoulders. That right alone made me fall to my knees. It just defied everything I knew about everything. Why does this thing have these unbelievable muscular man shoulders and arms, but at the same time it has a barrel chest like a dog, decompresses right after the rib cage, has these little bitty dog legs, and actually had hands, not raccoon hands that have been described. The one I saw with claws on them, with actual maybe anywhere from 2 to 3, 4-inch claws on it. And I think that's the thing that scared me the most. And that's kind of its upper body, how powerful its upper body, the bulk to it. That's the image that I have to live with. That's looking at that alone will scare the heck out of you. So that's my most scariest thing about this. He's no joke, but I've heard that they can just easily jump from tree to tree. I mean, this thing had absolutely no problem with upper body pulling itself up anywhere. This thing can get out of any situation with the upper body strength that I saw that it most likely has. But that's the thing that scares me the most. Not the teeth, really, not the face, just that the realization that this thing is packing so much power behind it, and I'm 100% dead against it. And it has these scary teeth that could just tear anything up and probably just break bones up. But I'm putting it, yeah, the shoulders and the arms, the upper body, the upper, unbelievable, crazy muscular body it has.
Well, thank goodness they don't seem to bring their weaponry to bear on people very often. You've told us a lot about their physical features, but what color were they?
They were both black. They were both black. The first thing that I thought that when I saw the first one was this is a German Shepherd. Looked just like a German Shepherd. The shape of the head was German Shepherd. Very, proportioned to a German Shepherd head. Not like a Rottweiler, just a dog. I thought it was just a big German Shepherd, black, if there's a black German Shepherd. Second one was black too. And it had fur, did not have hair, and I would maybe say, it kind of had like fuzz on it, the way dogs do. Anywhere from, again, 2 to 4 inch hair. Fur all over it. But yeah, they were both black. And they seemed to be, familiar with each other. They seemed to know each other. It seemed to me that there was a type of knowing. Generally, I do think all animals are smart. But I think these guys are almost as smart as we are. I didn't get the feeling of evil, and thank God I didn't. I know that a lot of people do. I didn't get like a bad, evil vibe, like, oh, I have to vacate the area immediately and just get away from them because, like, I'm looking at I didn't get a feeling of malevolence from it, but I did get a feeling that it had a type of knowing or intelligence that maybe is almost equal to mine. So, and that's why I was freaking out so much, because I'm thinking, how am I going to fight something that's as smart as me, but 8 to 9 times heavier than me, or my size? But I did absolutely get the feeling that these things are smart. In fact, the second one, it was almost acting like he was like the supervisor, like, oh yeah, I'm your boss. Let me check it out. What do we have going on here? If I got a vibe, that's the vibe I got. I did not ever get an evil vibe. I never got a growl. My experience is kind of maybe low key, but it's just kind of terrifying when you have this big thing just standing there staring at you. And you have no idea what it's going to do. And then the other one comes in, and he's looking around, and he keeps looking in his field, and I'm thinking, oh my God, he's looking at some more of his buddies over the way, and it's mostly what's going on in my head. So maybe what's really going on with the situation.
Well, even though it was a horrible experience, Megan, playing the Glad game, at least it wasn't as bad as it could have been. From what I understand, you spoke with neighbors after the storm who saw what you think might have been dogmen. What more can you tell us about that?
Oh, yes. Well, we had the task of having to gun our homes, and I was in Araby, Louisiana, which was really close to the lower Ninth Ward, which was a heavy hit area. But then you would have to go a little bit over. You would have to go over the Mississippi Bridge to get to Little Araby, which was also hit hard. And I believe there was maybe anywhere from 12 to 15 feet of water in your house for 2 to 3 weeks, because you have to wait for all the water to go down, so there's just horrible smell, total disaster. You have to go in and gut your house, put it all in front of your house, and you can't have it removed because you have to wait for FEMA to come for them to assess the damage. So the neighbors, the people who were coming back to gut their homes, there really wasn't many of us. And it was kind of eerie. You had to use daylight hours because there was no lighting. And it was really eerie. So our neighbors across from us would tell us things like, oh, they know some people that had seen these just the way. Oh, and that was a trigger too, because they described it the way that I was thinking about it. Because at that point, I didn't know what a Dogman was, and I'm sure they didn't, because they were saying, yeah, we saw these two big dogs on two legs, and I said, well, how big? And they said, like 6 feet, and I just went like, oh, I'm not coming down here anymore. But anyway, there was a nice couple that lived across the street, and what it was that there was a Walmart that was down the street too, and it was a meeting place where they would distribute like water and all kind of stuff like that. But same thing for us, they gutted the whole Walmart as well, and there was some leftover. I'm sure that there was a lot of leftover food and stuff. Incredible, rotting smell. The biggest, it was almost surreal how big of a pile it was. It looked like maybe 2-3 stories high. Well, they had told me that they had seen these dog creatures that were rummaging through, and I said, well, what do they look like? They stand on two legs, that they're just kind of rummaging, and they're actually like looking at this stuff and throwing it away. Well, the next day, I see them both. They both have holsters, shoulder holsters, and they having guns. I said, what's all this about? Because we're not going to get looters, because there was nothing possibly that you could loot, because everything's destroyed. And they were just kind of concerned about these dog creatures, because the next day they had seen more of them. Now, this is maybe 6 blocks away from where we were. And after that, I never went down there again. I just did not go down there again. And I was lucky enough to find a little church group to go down there. I was not going to go down there. I didn't want to have anything to do with these little dog things on 2 legs ever again.
Well, that's horrible. You have the encounter you had with them, and then the next thing you know, you find out they're right there in your own neighborhood.
Yes! They're everywhere.
Yeah, that is not good. Well, it's about time for us to get out of here, Megan, but before we do you have any closing comments you'd like to share?
Then I'm so glad that I get to open up and let this out, and I hope it helps someone, because it just is, I can tell you right now, I know what it's like to be alone. You see these things, there's no cars on the road, there's nobody around you, and you're face to face with this thing. It's going to change your life, but at the same time, you can't tell anybody. And in a way, I wish I would have done this years ago. And I'm grateful to have this opportunity.
Well, like I said, I'm so glad to offer this platform for you to come on and get that experience out there. But having said that, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing that experience with us. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Vic. You have no idea how much better I feel about it. I think I'm more confident. I just don't think I'm going to be as afraid when these images come up. And I will say that talking about it has really done me a world of good. Thank you so much, Vic.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. That is so great to hear. Well, thanks again so much. Have a great night. If you've had a Dogman encounter of your own and would like to speak with me, whether in private or on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. I'd love to hear from you.